Hey everybody, it's Betsy from StoryDrawingSkills.com, and I'm making a webcomic and also sharing my progress as I go. Last time I had made these 3 silhouettes, but when I came back to them, this tall one was looking so Wild West and cowboy. I was like, I'm going to have a tough time trying to make that silhouette fit in the magical fantasy world that I'm trying to create. So I decided to go back to something way more classic. Maybe not as original, but something that would be, familiar and give the audience a clue as to what kind of world and what kind of characters my comic has. So I decided to go for that, even if it's not as original. Sometimes you just need clarity, so that's what I decided to do. And then I just separated out the characters so I'd have some room to write about their personalities, and decided that the tall one is probably going to be the center character. I like the one that keeps everybody together. I feel like anytime you have a group, you need that one person that's going to be, the one kind of in charge of keeping the peace or just trying to keep everybody together. And I started off with a really boring font, and this sounds weird, but I really need the font to share the same kind of design aesthetic I'm going for the characters or going for the story. So even though I do not know what the title is, so I just put in the Quick Brown Fox, I wanted to find a font that I thought represented the design that I was going for. And my criteria was that I wanted it to be fairly easy to read because clarity is important, but also to have a little bit of whimsicality to it, a little bit of, magic-y kind of lookingness. So something slightly calligraphy. And I chose this one. And at first I started with seriously flamboyant for the center character because I was thinking of this chef from a show I really like that has these really flamboyant movements every once in a while, and I love it. But flamboyant movements are not quite as easy to portray in comics, so then I gave that one up and, changed it. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to find these 3 terms that will explain the characters and will also be very different from one another. That I don't want just like, oh, this one's trustworthy and this one's dedicated and this one is, out for justice. Like those are, too similar. I wanted to have a really clear distinction between the 3. So I ended up with Chic Sloth, Happy to Serve, and Prickly Pipsqueak. So Happy to Serve is my central character that is likely going to be the leader, kind of. And I start off with a sentence with wants. What does this character want? Because characters are all about their desires. So Happy to Serve wants to serve people. And then I try to add in like a drawback to that. So I thought one of the drawbacks of being really helpful is that people will sometimes take advantage of that. So that's what I kind of wrote down in the first sentence. And in the next 3, I pick the superlatives. So like the most likely to, the first 2, the least likely to. And the first one of the most likely, I said that this character is most likely to share lunch with someone else. And that might seem like trivial knowledge there. But the thing is, when you think of someone who is willing to share their lunch, you get to know that character's personality a little bit more just through that action. Now you know that this Happy to Serve character is also, kind and shares and wants everybody to be well fed and is not, a food hoarder. You can deduce a lot from actions, I believe. So that's why I like to write down these things, that are more based in actions. So then this central character is also the first to wake up in the morning. And that gives you a sense of this character probably has a good work ethic and, has the discipline to wake up at the same time every morning, that kind of thing. So instead of just having a list of adjectives that's like, oh, yes, they're very disciplined and kind and, service-oriented, I like to write down these actions. So I also include a least likely to. And for the center one, I said the least likely to talk back to elders, meaning that this character does have, a strong upbringing in manners and respect for other people. And so those things together kind of tell you about the character. And then I did the same for the other 2. And the last sentence, I try to think of something that's a little bit about why they're like this or where they come from. So I wrote just like a one-sentence backstory. And then I find it very helpful to visually represent their personalities through emoticons. Like this is their default emotional state. So I have one that's a little bit, ticked off, a little bit irritated all the time, one that's happy, and one that's a little bit sleepy or, bored or, just easygoing. From there, I finally get to start sketching out what they might actually look like. And right now, I'm just concentrating on shapes representing the personality that I'm trying to portray. So I'm using a lot of like rounded triangles, or not triangles, sorry, rectangles, to give off a sense of friendliness, but also dependability and solidity and structure. So I'm going with that, but not really loving it. So, that's obvious. You're not going to get it on your first try. Like, that's just a given. So then I was trying to just make it match that silhouette a little bit with the helmet and the, like, Romanesque plume. This one, I wanted some dark circles under her eyes because I felt like she'd be more nocturnal. And I wanted to give her the spiky hair to show that, she's prickly, she's not soft. But it was starting to look like Naruto and Gaara just got mushed together. That was not working. But it's okay. You just leave it there as your first attempt, and even if it's totally bad and wrong for your project, at least you know what not to do next time. So that's how I kind of see it. I was filling in her hair first and foremost because I really liked that hairstyle, but after a while I felt like it was maybe a little too Greek looking. Or maybe I have, subconsciously picked this up out of something else. But I also saw that the center one's eyes were really small in comparison to the other two, and I wasn't sure that was fitting in overall art style, so I tried to make them larger, but it wasn't really working. That's okay. Second time around, maybe we'll be better. So again, I'm trying to convey a moment out of this character's life and not just draw a straight face all the time. So there I opened up her mouth like she's speaking and tried to give her hair not so much of a spiky main character hair, but more, just a little more chill. And I said I still wanted to, have her glow with happiness and hopefulness, and tried a shorter haircut. Because I do try to think of practicality and, what would be something that was easily maintained while they're traveling around and stuff like that. But the shape was getting a little too, stylized, too cartoony. It just wasn't working for me. I also felt like she was looking too young, so then I tried to lower her nose, which is a quick way to make a character look older, and also make her face just longer in general. Not really sure it worked. The last one, I was still trying to convey more chicness. Like I wanted maybe more precise eyeliner or, hair that looked like it had been, well cared for, something like that. And give her more of an attitude of that she deserves the best and the most luxurious everything. That helmet was looking a little too tall, fix that. But when I look at them, they're not, they're just not what I want. So that one is the one that I was really the least satisfied with. So I went for that one again, and this time made a really long head and tried to maintain that sense of friendly broadness and, dependability with the rectangular sort of shapes. And it was looking a little bit like a guy. So, maybe I should change the jaw to be a little bit more feminine, which usually means either rounding it or narrowing it. So I went for the narrow. Tried to give her more distinct eyelashes. And actually, I thought this character was looking pretty cute. But it just wasn't matching the personality so much that I wanted for the central character. So I was still fiddling with how to, make them each very distinct while still looking like they come from the same artist in the same world and everything like that. So that one with the prickly pipsqueak was a fail. Deleted that one. Tried again. And was trying to, visually make the hair prickly, but found that kind of wasn't working. And the same thing with her hair. I was trying to make it, more round and friendly. And trying to make the one on the left the most chic. But since I was not having a whole lot of success with the prickly one, I decided to, really make the expression more intensely, like don't touch me, don't come near me, and then see what kind of shapes came from that. Really struggling with the hair too. I felt like somebody who had grown up in the mountains of the wild would not have anything that was difficult to maintain, especially long hair, which I know for a fact from my own life is difficult to maintain. So I knew the prickly one was going to have the shortest hair for sure. And I wasn't really feeling the personality so much though. So whenever I get stuck, I tend to just think of another character that is similar to what I'm trying to do. So I thought of this character, Spot Conlon, the nickname in Brooklyn, from Newsies. And if you've ever seen Newsies, like this kid almost stole the show. Like he had such charisma and such presence. And his attitude of, you don't mess with me. You don't mess with my boys. Like that's kind of what I wanted for her. So I'm not trying to make her look like Spot exactly. I did kind of steal his upturned nose, but I just wanted a visual reminder of the kind of character that I was trying to design. Like how can I show, that she's pretty tough and she's also not the most polite and, that she can just take care of herself. So that really helped, I thought, and I actually liked, after I failed at drawing this other eye over here, that was horrible, don't look at that, I found that I kind of liked one eye being covered. It kind of visually represented that she doesn't want to open up to people, that she wants to be left alone. So, that's those kinds of visual cues that maybe aren't something that the audience will know right away, but that's what they represent. I find that can be really helpful. I tried again with the chicness, but that was a fail. And I thought maybe I'm focusing too much on the chic and not enough on the fact that she's really lazy. So I did some really long, tired, lazy shapes, just thinking like, what would I feel like represents lazy? And everything was really drooping down. So then I go, okay, new plan. Her eyes are going to be really hooded. Not that she's actually sleepy all the time, it's just that her eyes look like they're sleepy. I don't know if you've seen like celebrities or, just people who have eyes that naturally look sleepy. So that's what I wanted for her, and I wanted a hairstyle that was not so difficult to create every morning, so I figured the laziest thing you can probably do is a ponytail. And she was looking nice and lazy, but she was then losing her chicness. So then I said, okay, well I need to change her hair and maybe give her, like a tiara or some kind of headband to bring back her look of being, rich or high class. Give her back her chicness. So then she was looking a little bit like Cleopatra, but, it was at least in a better direction than I had before. So even if it looks like Cleopatra, I'm just going to leave it for now, since it's just giving me that correct character feeling that I wanted. So then once again, trying for the happy character, trying to make her super happy, super bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Sometimes it looks too much like a kid, though. I think that's what happened with this one, too. Like, as I'm drawing these really round features, it can very quickly look too young. And this one, the hairstyle too, just made her look like a little village girl, like not important to anyone, very generic. And it's just like, no, this is not going to be the leader of my group. So, just put her off to the side so I know what not to do. And trying to figure out like what this character is about, but got distracted by the Chic Sloth's nose. I wanted it to be more pointed down, because since the prickly one has an upturned nose, their personalities are pretty opposite, so visually I can make them opposite too, and so I put her nose down. Decided to go for a more determined, kind of a we're going to do this thing look, and figure out what kind of hair I was going to have for this last character, but the things that I was trying, not particularly happy with. And I was getting more of a vibe of kind of Sailor Jupiter. Sailor Jupiter is my favorite Sailor Scout, just so you know, and you can obviously see the resemblance right there with the like wavy temple side hairs and the headband and ponytail and everything. That's pretty much Sailor Jupiter right there. And you know, I wasn't completely unaware of this fact, and I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and look up some images of Sailor Jupiter, or at least I do it pretty soon here. Try to make her older again by lengthening the face and lengthening the nose. There we go. I was just like, yeah, Sailor Jupiter was cool. Maybe I'll bring some of that in here. But not visually. Like, I don't want to copy her design, I just want to copy, or not copy, but I mean, I want to get some inspiration from the kind of character that she was, because she was a very straightforward character, I think. At least from what I saw of Sailor Moon. I didn't watch the whole, 500 episodes or whatever it was. But I also thought of the character Jayla from Star Trek, and I wanted, to find a picture of the actress as natural looking as possible, like not, a red carpet look, just something that she'd look closer to just like her everyday facial structure and stuff. And I liked that, or I don't know if she actually has a flat nose like that, but that's what I was inspired to do by her. So I got a flatter looking nose, and I was really happy about that because now their noses are all different. Like I have one that's upturned, one that's downturned, and one that's just even keel. And it's also pretty relatable that kind of represents their personalities too. That one's low energy, one's high energy, one's even keel. But I thought maybe her hair wasn't graphic enough. I feel like the other two had really strong shapes for their hair, and she didn't. So I went ahead and just made kind of a semi-bald version and duplicated it. This is where digital drawing is so awesome, when you can just duplicate it and try things like this. I'm not actually a digital drawing preference artist. Like, I don't like to digitally draw, actually. I'd rather do it with my pencil. But when you can copy a face like this and just try things, like, that's awesome. So that's pretty much why I'm doing digital drawing this time around, is so I can have these conveniences of duplicating it like that. So I was trying out some different hairstyles. I think the waviness shows kind of her bouncy, willing to help spirit. The middle one I wasn't crazy about because it seems a little too lax. Then I thought maybe I'd give her mid-length hair, but she also had mid-length hair, so then I said, well, maybe I can make hers longer, because again, I'm trying to go for as much diversity as possible between these three, and then it would be okay for her to have mid-length, or shoulder-length hair, I should say. I want to try one more, though, and do like a big fluffy ponytail in back, like more of a curly, textured hair, and see how that looked. Because I very rarely do curly hair on my characters. Not because I don't like curly-haired characters. I actually love curly-haired characters. But not gonna lie, curly hair is not easy to draw, okay? So that's pretty much the only reason that I haven't done many curly-haired characters. So this time I am going to do a curly-haired character. So I decided to give her a nice big fluffy ponytail in the back and and have the rest pulled neatly back. Keep it out of her face. Maybe have one little squiggle there. And that would just about do it for their faces. So then just to, again, kind of recap, I like to put their faces next to the other information that I have about them. Obviously, this is not really professional, super clean presentation right here. I would never turn this in for like a school project or, to a editor or whatever. But, just for me, to have these cheat sheets of what their personality's like and, their emoticon face is really helpful to me. And I did have to go back and change some of these silhouettes to now match what their faces look like, or their hairstyles, I should say. I was still playing around with the prickly one's hair. I was just afraid maybe it was too generic, but I ended up just keeping it the way it was. And I wanted to change her hairstyle, and there we go.